I'm quite excited to share with all of you today what we have in stock. So today, as Michael shared, Hugh is from Panasonic, Hugh from Pestle Mortar, as well as Ryan from Shopee. We'll be discussing on how retailers can reimagine their approach towards recent economic changes. Basically, what worked, what might work in the future as well. So let's start. I know that there have been a couple of challenges, recently with retailers, right? Obstructed logistics with border closures, change in suppliers' reliability as well, with some being constrained or suppliers have to shut down due to, cash flow issues and whatnot. And as well as there's disrupted demand, right? Such a sudden spike for certain products and also lack of demand for other things like, for example, travel and accessory as well. So we wanted to ask a couple questions. First off, this is highlighted to all the panels. Basically, how are you doing, and what are your thoughts and observations about the retail industry today? What does reimagining retail industry means to you? So maybe Ryan, would you like to go first?
Right, thanks, Amelia. Wow, how am I doing? I would like to say overworked, during this period. So sales has been, really great at Shopee, and e-commerce is booming, but there has been many challenges, both internally and externally, which I think I will share in further questions. I think I would like to touch more on reimagining retail industries, so what it means to me. Right? So I think.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I think Mike mute, I think.
Ooh.
Oh, how about you?
I think Ryan got
Where's noise coming from? There's like a very bad buzzing noise.
Oh, is it from me?
I
don't think it's
from Ryan actually. Ryan, it could be coming from you.
Really, there's no sound around. Oh, let me just check out my headphones. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I mean, while waiting for that, Hugh, would you like to share more?
Yeah.
Sorry, is it really me? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead first then.
Ryan, suggest you log out and log back in, and hopefully that will work. You can give that a try. Sorry guys, technical difficulties. Okay, Ryan. Hugh, would you like to take it on?
Sure, no worries.
Thank you.
So I think the first thing that I'd like to say is that, COVID-19 is probably like first time our business is sort of going through a major crisis. For Pestle Mortar Clothing, for those who don't know, we are a clothing retail company. A very small team, we only comprise of about 20 people or so. Been doing it for about 10 years, and the market that we speak to is the very urban, sort of younger market. So anywhere from like your 18 all the way to your 30-year-old. Okay. And so going into COVID-19, this was like the first time, and I think how we sort of reacted, or how I reacted to it, would be, a sense of excitement at first. And then after that, it starts getting real, and, it starts getting scary, and you sort of go like, oh, wow, stores are closing, manufacturers are affected, our supply chain, there's disruptions within that. And then after a while, you as long as you plan, you somewhat get a grasp on it, and that's when sort of composure comes in, and you sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel, and everyone's somewhat motivated to go like, we got to make sure that we get through this storm. Okay. I've been very, very lucky in regards to having a good network around me. So whether it be from family, having a bunch of entrepreneurs within my family itself, or even my friends. And I belong to this thing called like an EO network, which is entrepreneurship organization. And that has sort of proven to really give me that support system which is needed during this crisis. So, whether it be being able to benchmark our plans, we are in malls, and therefore rental negotiations during this period of time is extremely important. And even when it comes down to like HR legal issues. So, speaking to lawyers, what can we do? What are our rights? What are the rights of our staff? And making sure that we're fair during this time. Just to give you an overview as well, like Pestle Mortar clothing, 60% pre-COVID, 60% of our sales was actually driven by brick and mortar. Online has always, or e-commerce has always been something that, we've been always talking about and wanting to sort of focus more of our efforts on. And I think COVID-19 in a way has been, there is a positive flip side to it, and that is really forcing us into the e-commerce space. Majority of my team, I would say traditional sort of agency. So we're not the most digital savvy people. And it's been a really sort of steep learning curve. But we've managed, So obviously sales are still down during this period, but being able to sort of really focus our efforts on the online space. Another thing as well that I do want to mention is, sort of staying relevant during this time. And especially everyone's going online and the landscape is extremely noisy, right? So, and everyone was doing a sale. So I guess our approach during this time is really making sure that our campaigns are timely. They focus on emotion, whether it be that give back element. Obviously, you need to be able to entice that customer. So we've been very active on that campaign front, which has been keeping us busy lah. Okay. Yeah, I think the last part you mentioned in terms of the retail industry today, in terms of my thoughts as well. I've got a lot of friends that run very traditional sort of retail businesses, and I sort of realized that, wow, obviously, maybe they run like a 500-man team, and the difficulty for them to be able to adapt during this time it's really, really difficult. So, but I think, going through this, obviously some will get burnt, worse than others. But I think the main thing would be a lot of these companies would be much better prepared in terms of putting the right, whether it be steps or action plans in place if something like this does come about in the near future. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Hugh, would you like to share a little bit more about?
Okay. Hi. Once again, good morning. I'm Hugh from Panasonic Malaysia. I'm impressed with experience and the stories shared by Hugh. I think you guys are, a very, what do you call it, retailer-based type of business. For Panasonic Malaysia, being one of the 23 companies in Malaysia, we are actually selling our products through our brick and mortar. Before the pandemic, I believe you guys know that when you want to purchase electrical products, you actually going to places like probably Heng, Harvey Norman's, and some of your neighborhood shops offline. But over the years, even before pandemic, you can see the growth in e-commerce. The online business is growing rapidly. Even for Panasonic Malaysia, we have our own stores, our own official stores at Lazada, and of course our Shopee. And also we have our own store as well, our own e-commerce site. Likewise, our retailers, our own online retailers, they are also putting themselves selling online through marketplace like Shopee. Now, I think today is entering the 65 days of MCO, and I'm actually working from home. While some of my colleagues, I think they are working from office. Many companies are now practicing this so-called social distancing, trying to actually split their teams into probably one working from home, one working from office, and things like that. And I think many of us are now getting used to the new normal. And the what I call it, to answer your question on how I look at the concept of reimagining retail industry, I think the pandemic has actually accelerate the shift, from traditional offline alone to something of an omni-channel. We need to combine the what do you call it, the strength of both online and offline to build a sustainable business model. I think some of the company may call it in a different name, but some may call it a seamless business model, or O2O, online to offline, even a new retail. So I think before the pandemic, I think we can see the change. I think this is due to the evolving customers' expectation, their behavior, their preference. And nowadays, customers do not rely only on how brands advertise their products. They rely and they look at how their peer, review the products. Customer reviews become very important. They listen to opinion from their peer, from their opinion leader, from influencers. So this is something that is already taking place. I think even during this lockdown or MCO, we can see people are actually selling their products, online. They do live demonstration, These are good things to see. And also, we noticed that customers are also spending more on experience. Even before lockdown or even during lockdown.
What kind of experience are you referring to?
If people will spend money going to probably a very Instagrammable restaurant, they go to this probably spa visit, the experience compared to tangible things.
Understand?
These are the trend. And I think for retailers, I think we need to seriously consider to build a seamless shopping journey. For our customers.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I understand, based on what both of you have shared, basically you're exploring ways to get online and I mean, because the physical store, no one is able to visit, right? And at the end of the day, social media is not very social, right? So how do you create experiences, amidst COVID-19? And I even see quite a number of seafood Instagram pages as well, like people selling ikuras and fish and whatnot. So it's quite interesting. It's a very interesting time that we live in. I think Ryan is back, but we'll move on to the second question in the meantime. So what are some interesting consumer behaviors? I think this is something that it's on everyone's mind as well. Is there any spending habits that you've noticed, for example, like things that people have purchased or any new subscriptions that's quite interesting, or new industries or new tech infrastructures that is in place that you've noticed or think might work in Malaysia? Chiu, would you like to share first?
Okay. Now over the last probably 5 years, I think for revenue for online transaction, especially related to the industry that I'm working with, are pretty much dominated by electronics category. Probably it is due to the fact that the higher value of items such as mobile phone, the smartphone, the computers, the appliances, and so on. However, I think the recent data that we studied shows that the share of revenue increasing for area like fashion and beauty. So those guys out there, if you are in this fashion and beauty category, I believe you will be experiencing a big growth in your revenue in the next coming 5 years. And needless to say, I think during this pandemic period, the demand for healthcare products has been in a rise. And also at the moment, I think a lot of consumers are also spending their money on essential items. And now I also noticed, as I mentioned briefly just now, during this pandemic and MCO, you notice, the online shopping has actually become, a lot of live streaming. Over in China, like Taobao or Tmall, I think this are one of the main selling channel that the what they call the brand owners are using to sell the product through live stream. You can do it either on Facebook or YouTube and so on. So it is like TV shopping, but now it is done online.
Yeah.
This is my observation.
Okay. Ryan, are you back? Okay, maybe.
Yes, I'm back. I'm back.
Okay, perfect. Maybe from Shopee's perspective, have you noticed like a spike in terms of like electronics maybe, or certain purchases that's pretty abnormal, or any changes Shopee has been analyzing?
It's been a very interesting time for us. So I think this is I completely agree with your points of view actually, because for example, electronics, we've actually doubled our sales in the last 2 months. We have doubled our sales in terms of electronics, as well as double our sales for health and beauty products. Right? For some reason, right, people staying home, they would actually shop more for more luxury goods, as well as beauty products. So our Maybellines, our L'Oreals have been doing very well for some reason, right? Even I can't explain it. The other interesting thing is actually detergents. People are staying home a lot. But for some reason, our sales for detergents are at an all-time high. All the Breeze is getting sold out, and it's been really great in terms of sales. But there's also a lot of challenges when it comes to the supply chain. Right now, in the first month of the COVID lockdown, it was very difficult to get items from China, from other countries, as well as in terms of just local supply chain. It was very difficult to get everything moving. And that's where a lot of the challenges come from. Is also the coordination with the government and helping our suppliers to actually be tagged as essential as long as they supply to our Shopee business, right? So definitely a lot of moving parts, and as we use data to see our current trends, we had to actually move very quickly. The very first few days, we see a huge spike in terms of spending across all categories, but we had to actually pinpoint the right products so that we can actually tell the suppliers in advance that we see these products having an upward trend, and hence we would like to buy X amount more, or please be ready to manufacture more of these things because it is popular. As well as when we look at cross-border sales, it's actually been quite good as well. And we see that a lot more people are spending time browsing through our web page and through our mini microsites. Though for now, I think things are slowing down. I think as people start, I don't know whether they started running out of money because they've spent so much over the last 2 months. But it has been slowing down, and we see a lot more shift towards, I would say, more luxury items, right?
I think it's also because I'm surprised actually that you said beauty products, because a lot of people are staying home, right? So makeup products and whatnot, like I would imagine that wouldn't be a priority. But maybe because people see this, and the MCO was 2 weeks, then it was extended, and they thought it was a temporary, 2 weeks work from home experience. And then they start buying a lot of things. They start buying detergents, like you said. I'm one of them that I
Really?
did a couple of stuff, and I cleaned everything in my house. I think it's quite interesting to see, like the consumer behaviors and the things that people purchase, and the priorities just kind of change. And I totally agree that people stop spending as much, right now, I think maybe people are not sure how long this will last, right? So maybe people are looking into necessities and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
Do you think the same?
Yes, for sure. I think pretty much what you just said, completely agree. It's something that honestly we are actually it's really changing the way we view the market as a whole, right? As we actually really need to start from ground zero in terms of anticipating consumer trends and then the buying behavior, right? Things are completely different right now. The channels that they used to use, the kind of buying patterns. Right now, we don't actually rely a lot on big campaigns, for example, right? We notice that during big campaigns, we actually don't do really well because on a day-to-day basis, people are already buying the items, right? So it really is a very interesting time, and whoever goes into the e-commerce space and utilize data and technology to make sound decisions would definitely have a large advantage in this time era. And it's something that I think we also are trying to get a lot of retailers to be onboarded and also to be trained up. So I think we've already come up with up to like 15 million ringgit to help suppliers and vendors to actually come on board, as well as
If anyone is interested in listing some of your new ideas and products, you can reach out to Ryan.
yes, please. I know Panasonic has already worked with us under our Shopee mall, so thanks for supporting our business too.
Okay.
Great
Hugh,
to
is
hear
there
that.
anything you would like to add on?
Yeah.
On the sorry.
So what we've been doing a lot of actually, I mean, we actually started it doing this like the whole pre-order model. Surprisingly, it's actually been working for us, with disruptions within our supply chain and manufacturing, being able to actually sell product that we don't actually have. So that's something that we've been doing quite evidently, especially over the past, 4 or 5 weeks. And that's actually been quite successful. So the take-up rate in terms of the customers, has been quite promising. But I think that also comes with, being able to build that brand that people believe in. And it's the same thing like a brand like Panasonic or even like from Shopee. I purchase a lot of stuff from Shopee itself, and I always know like, or even though a seller does not have like good ratings, but because Shopee is obviously a big company first up, and all my previous orders has actually arrived at my doorstep, so there is that trust. So we've been doing a lot of that, and something that we really want to explore is actually that subscription model, because when COVID-19 obviously came, we don't actually have a constant flow of income. So that's something that the team and me is currently sort of working on.
That's interesting. So how would your subscription model work for Pestle Mortar? And I know you guys have always been known for being very independent and very creative actually. So one of the movers for being really, really creative in the retail industry as well. So yeah, would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Sure. So just to share with you guys, obviously when it comes to the subscription program, it needs to be a parallel vertical to whatever we currently have, right? And I guess loyalty plays a big part, and we do have a lot of loyal fans that have been following the brand for many, many years. How are we able to, reward them? Are we able to create sublines that are only available through the subscription program, exclusive product ranges, say for example? We've been putting out quite sort of products during timely products during this period. So like some data, data was sort of showing like obviously gym equipment, that was a big part. And being a lifestyle brand, and the way that we like to look at it is that rather than selling apparel, we actually sell a lifestyle. So that actually allows us to maybe open it up. And something that we've done in the past, over the past week, is that we were selling like jigsaw puzzles. We've got like a yoga mat in the works. So things like that, right? Because, being a lifestyle brand, you can pretty much cover everything lifestyle, and people accept that. So
nice.
yeah, that's the plan.
Also, something that I've noticed as well is that a lot of brands are like collaborating with different brands as well. So like some F&Bs are working with, say they sell vegetables, then they would work with baker house like Universal Bakers, and then they would sell like a sort of like a subscription for a packs, right? And that actually helps because people are feeding like their families and not just themselves now. So they have to think about, you know, in terms of price wise and whatnot. That's something to consider as well.
I think partnerships in this day and age is extremely important. You know, focus on what you do well, what you do good, and you know, work together with other people to be able to sort of build that awareness around it. So
Very nice.
be very active in that space.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So my next question, I think it is directed very much towards Ryan. Actually, I wanted to like learn more about what are some of Shopee's best practices so far, and are there any tips that you like to share with other retailers? Because you oversee a lot of retailers as well, right? Of distributors and whatnot.
Ooh, best practices. I think number one is, you know, since everyone, I think mostly everyone has the work from home arrangements and or team A, team B arrangements, right? I think the number one thing I would say everyone should do, especially during this time, is to check up on your teams that are at home and set very clear expectation and boundaries for them. I mean, people are the heart of, you know, everyone's business. I think the first few days, I would say the challenging part of having MCO is how do you make sure people don't get burnt out? You know, people are working longer hours, obviously, from home. How do we make sure that they still feel engaged? You know, coming from a very young, I would say Shopee is still a very young company, and most of the workforce, you know, they're really young, right? A lot of fresh grads, a lot of like 25 years old, 24 years old. They are more social. So sometimes they might get affected by, you know, just staying at home. And you would think that, oh, you know, it's a small matter, you know, people just stay home, it's fine. But it really does affect people's mental state and their performance as well, right? They don't have people to talk to, they don't have people to bounce off ideas. And especially it's even worse for, you know, new joiners. You know, you hired this person, he's been in for a week, nobody's going to guide him. So always check up on your people and set that clear expectation and communication channels. Have a set schedule. You're working from this time to this time. Please just, you know, when you're off work, just get off work. Do not message and, you know, just be very clear to have those boundaries, right? And the other thing I guess would be more on how we plan our manpower. Right now, for example, for our warehouse business, we actually run 24 hours with 3 shifts. So our headcount has almost doubled or tripled, right? From the logistics side and from the warehousing side. And I would say that as much as people think that COVID-19 has been great for sales, it has, but it's not super profitable either, right? We had to buy, to protect our people, essentially we bought a lot of PPE equipment, you know, protective equipment. We bought in a lot of air purifiers. We are going to do a daily cleansing, you know, of the warehouse, basically cleaning up everything. We hired all of these people because essentially, you know, we had a lot of backlog, right? Obviously not permanent staff, but for the first 1 month, I think we double or triple our headcount temporarily, you know, to you know, cater for all our orders. So I wouldn't say it has been the most profitable time. Sales has been good, of course. But as we go along, you would actually see that all these additional costs would add up. You know, just taking a lot of precautions. What other things? Other best practices I would say is that really look at your data and replan how you think about replenishing or buying certain products and SKUs and what you actually want to put on the websites. I would say, I guess that's quite a generic one, I guess. And I think the last one would be just, you know, working with the government a lot closer. So one thing that we did, I think, very well is that early on we actually approached the ministries of Kementerian Dalam Negeri and MOH to actually understand their guidelines. Right. So, for example, MOH says, okay, if there is a suspected case in the warehouse or in your office, what do you do? Right? Do you get a vendor that has a certification that says that you can operate again? Right. So all of these things, we actually had to have a lot of discussions with the government and actually align. Are we essential services? Right. In the beginning, we didn't even know. Are we really essential services? Are we going to be shut down?
There's a lot of gray area, right, for a lot of
Exactly. Yeah, and it's been great to work with the government. Actually, I think they've been very active and they've been very cooperative in all these aspects. And of course, we also had to help our suppliers, right? So when we work with the government, we know what exactly they are looking for. For example, in the beginning, we had to give all our suppliers a signed letter to say you are working and supplying for Shopee, you are providing services, and you are essential goods, etc. Right. So these things actually help. For example, one of Panasonic's, I think, competitors, Philips, they could not initially deliver to our warehouse, right? Because they deemed themselves as non-essential. We are the ones that kind of help them, get that pass, and we were able to get them into our warehouse to actually sell. I think those the three would be the top, I would say, in a way, best practices that I would share.
I like how you included a little bit about retailers' mindset and some of the efforts, because instead of them like taking a break and they can actually focus on jumping into different opportunities and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Chu, do you have anything that you like to share? Maybe debunk any myths?
Okay. Hi. Yeah. As for Panasonic, we are also, as mentioned by Ryan, we are also a seller on Shopee. I think being a middle income nation, Malaysia, price discount, of course, is something inevitable, and especially in the online platform, when customers can easily open a few and browse a few window at one time and compare prices between the two platforms and so on. I think price is, of course, is something that very important factor. But the research finding actually shows that there's a big group of customers who actually place more important value on convenience and as against over cost. So means not just people coming to buy online is solely to get the cheapest stuff. They are also looking for convenience. They are also looking for things that are of a high quality, meeting their expectation and so on. So I think we shouldn't just place too much emphasis just on pricing alone, but we need to ensure that we have our customer service in place. How we tackle customer issues or response to them, how we share information such as demonstration, reviews. Now, not for forgetting prompt fulfillment or prompt delivery is one of the very important success factor for e-commerce. So, and of course, giving warranty assurance to customers. I think these are the things that we should not be we should not overlook. Right. Thank you. Hi, Amelia.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, for the next question, since the lockdown, CMCO is in place, right? How should retailers respond or continue to operate their business? So I know Hugh just now shared a little bit more about their subscription or some plans on how to really focus on online sales, seeing that 60% of your sales are brick and mortar, right? Are there anything else that you like to add in terms of, it could be process improvement, or this is a good time for companies to restructure some roles, reimagine some roles within your workforce and whatnot? Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
I think just more from a general mindset sense, right? It's, even though this sounds obvious, whatever I'm going to be mentioning, but there are people like that where, going through a crisis, I think the idea is to definitely not stay idle. Don't have that mindset of like, oh, this thing might be 2 weeks, 1 month. I'm not going to do anything, just lay low during this current stage. Things are moving so quickly these days, and, innovation and if you're actually not, innovating your business, or you're not sort of changing things within it, I think very easily you will be left behind. And the way that I like to look at it is, we are currently in this tunnel, and, we do see the light at the end of the tunnel. How we better able to emerge out of this a complete new business. And that is really the mindset that we've been trying. And I think this is the best time as well, right? A lot more customers are forgiving as well during this period. They're open to a lot more new ideas. So,
Perfect. Thank you so much. Chu, would you like to add anything from Panasonic's point of view?
I strongly agree with Hugh's opinion. I think none of us should be staying idle and doing nothing. And one thing, the fact is, this pandemic is hitting everyone. No one is spared from this scenario.
True.
Showing everyone will show to each other. Even for us to show our concern, our empathy to our colleagues, to our customers and so on. I think everyone can understand the same difficulty that we are going through together. So, in my opinion, I think what we can do, especially as the retailers during this lockdown, is to review and also to think of a way to improvise your current setup or your business model. If you are not yet in e-commerce, I think it's very simple. You just become a seller in Shopee. I think Ryan will be glad to to send his team to train you guys how to put your to open your store in Shopee and start selling. So I think every one of us should not be idling. And if your industries are still not permitted to operate by the ministry, at least take the opportunity to probably engage in self-learning. There are a lot of e-learning courses and so on during this COVID-19 period. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of panel discussions like this as well.
Yes.
Look up there's actually a lot of free resources.
Right.
Even entertainment as well. The entertainment industry has been quite generous as well to share some of these things. So e-learning is something that I as well dived into. So yeah, I highly recommend everyone to partake in some sort of e-learning, or maybe focus on maybe process improvement or resetting some of the restructures in the company, right?
Yes.
If you can't do anything, really, there's something you can do. So identify that and start working, guys.
Right.
So my next question, this is directed to basically all of you. What do you consider good customer service when faced with situations like this, and where business operations is interrupted? Maybe Hugh, would you like to go first? Sorry, Hugh, I think you're on mute.
yeah, there you go. Okay. So I think the most important is really to be transparent in times of crisis. Not only with your team, but, especially with your customers. People are not dumb. A lot of time, I think people can sort of read through a lot of the things that we actually do. And therefore, I think the actions, whether it needs to be genuine, with your actions or even your activations, because this is where, you potentially could be winning customers, or on the flip side, be losing a bunch. Obviously in times of crisis, we act a lot of times, with emotion, right? So I think, that would be, my advice, to really make sure what you put out, is genuine.
Chu, is there anything you would like to add on?
Okay. I think in my opinion, if you are asking about what is the considered good customer service, what Panasonic Malaysia has we have done during this MCO period in terms of customer service, we extended the warranty period for our customers. As we know, that no one will be able to get their service done at our call center during the lockdown. So this is one thing that we have done. And as I mentioned, I think we need to show to our customers that we care for them. Everyone need the kind of feeling that the brand is, is empathy towards them. So that is, my opinion in terms of what I call good customer service.
Yeah, I'm liking how there's two different approaches. If you are within your means, you're able to continue a subscription or maybe provide something to your customers during a difficult time, then consider that. And I also really like what Hugh has shared about being transparent, because it's really true. Like, your customers are also experiencing the same thing, so they will probably demand a lot out of your business. And I think that if you are just transparent, I mean, everyone's just human, right? They might understand you might lose some customers, but you might also gain some customers that would really like to support you because of your efforts and whatnot. So thanks for that. I'm going into my final questions. So if any of you watching this right now, I can see that there's questions from Marilyn Yim and Kevin Chang. I will address that. But if any of you would like to ask any questions right now to any of our panel speakers, please click on the chat box. There's a red dot on it right now. Click on it and basically just ask your questions, and I will try to answer as many as we can. Okay. For the last question that I have for all of you today, so this is actually very much directed to Hugh and Ryan, actually. So how do you increase sales and high value average transactions? Everyone's writing on social media platforms, and actually some of you have already shared, the different approaches that you recommend, like with Hugh, partnering with different people. This is the best time to actually partner with different companies out there, because everyone is going through the same thing. Like what Hugh has shared, everyone is going through the same thing. So it's better, and you don't have to fight this alone. You just have to identify different partners that are relevant to your business and then work together. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Ryan? Ryan, I think you're on mute.
Well, to add, I mean, I think for us, we didn't do anything really special on or different social media platforms. I think the only main thing that we did differently is that we do something called a virtual bundle, right? So add-on deals and virtual bundles, right? So for example, when we are browsing through Shopee, you will see certain products like, if you buy Dettol, then you can get another hand sanitizer for a cheaper price, right? Those are your add-on deals. Then we should have done some virtual bundling. Basically, what it means is like we can create hampers, right? So like a Hari Raya hamper or a collection of goods that people want to buy. And I think that's how we've been driving high value average transactions. We over here call it average basket size, higher average basket size, or higher average transaction size. But yeah, I think from my side, nothing really special, to be honest. And I think what we have been focusing on is not really trying to get people on to buy more. I think it's trying to help the community a little bit more. So if you go to Shopee, I think we've had a lot of donation kind of product listings, right? With MMC, I think, product listings, and also a lot of our efforts come to onboarding suppliers to actually provide variety, right? As a assortment and variety, as opposed to pushing what we currently have, right? Like everyone knows, right? Brick and mortar right now, that it's a challenging time for all retailers out there. So we try our best to get as many suppliers who were previously not in any e-commerce platforms to actually be on our platforms, and we try to push those products first up front, because then we know that these existing products, before this, people have already been buying it. We don't really have to push for it, right? So in terms of product placement as well, we should actually try to drive new sales from new assortment and new businesses. So I think it's more of a different approach on how e-commerce companies kind of do things. That's a little bit on the Shopee side.
Perfect. Thank you. Hugh, would you like to add anything else before we dive into other questions?
So maybe I'll just give an example of one of the campaigns that we were particularly very proud of. This was actually the first campaign, maybe first week into the MCO, and we actually launched this campaign which was called Stronger Together. And what Stronger Together, in terms of what it sort of embodied, was that awareness aspect. I think when COVID came, people, a lot of people were sort of brushing it off, right? To some people, obviously, took it a lot more seriously compared to others. And the awareness aspect or the education aspect was something which was very important to us. So what we actually did is that we created a product which educated people about the different pillars of whether it be social distancing, whether it be limited travel, whether it be, still staying healthy at home during this pandemic, things like that. And obviously, part proceeds of that was actually used to purchase goods from like the smaller SMEs, like your mom and pop shops. So people really, that was the general idea of that. And whatever essential sort of food items that we actually bought from these mom and pop shops, we actually donated that to like the B40 communities or even like the refugee communities. So in a way, it was like a full circle, where we create this product, we make the money, we're able to provide, something as a gift back. And customers really resonated with that angle. So, I think it's things like that. It's not everyone's doing a sale, right? Everyone's doing promotion. So how do you somewhat set yourself apart? And that was one of the examples, what we actually did.
A couple of years ago, I don't know if all of you have heard of Beta, BATA, where they have physical stores that sell tech products, but there's no staff. So I mean that works, right, for coronavirus being in the picture. But basically, they display all the products with the iPad, and you can feel and touch the physical item. But when you purchase there, and it will be sent to your home, so you don't have to carry it around the mall. So it's kind of a mix of brick and mortar and also online, and that could potentially be the future. So they actually have stores in California, and I can just imagine that being kind of a norm as well in the future, where instead of going to like a store and you ask questions from the representative of the store, sometimes you can just click on a button and directly ask questions, and you'll get a real representative from the brand, from wherever the HQ is. And I thought that was actually really fascinating as well. So that's something that a lot of I can imagine that it will probably change in the future, the way people shop in malls as well. And everything is social distancing in some way, right? We're practicing that. So actually, I want to cover a couple questions from the floor before we end. I know we're running out of time. Question from Kevin Chang. Hi, Ryan. Would like to know what kind of performance review model is Shopee using, especially during this pandemic? Is it KPI based or OKR based?
Ooh.
Yeah. So is it? Yeah.
Say it's a mixture, I would say.
Yeah.
We obviously do have KPIs that we want to hit, right? Average daily orders, average basket size, the GMV that we're driving for the suppliers. It's actually just a mixture. It's actually just a mixture. That's all I can say actually about that. I would just say that we actually revise our targets upwards, right? So different categories, we've kind of revised different things. For example, health and beauty and electronics, we increased the targets for those categories, and for certain categories like groceries and pets and toys, kids, baby stuff like diapers, we actually kept it at the same level. Because as much as we see spikes, overall, there's actually just a set amount of goods that a person can consume at a particular time, right? But luxury goods is something that, like I think someone mentioned in the chat as well, revenge spending, right?
Marilyn Mark, she asked, what are some, were there any change in terms of demographics when it comes to luxury products that you said increased, right?
Oh, in demographics. Oh,
yeah, the demographics of the people purchasing luxury products. Were there any change, or did it stay the same? Or
I would say it's relatively the same, except I think younger people seem to be more susceptible to buying these items on a installment basis.
Okay. Oh, installment basis.
Yeah, because we offer that service too, right? The 0% interest installment, and I don't know how this will help our country in terms of making sure we don't overspend as our younger generations. Well, obviously our generation, the Gen Ys, I hope they don't overspend. The trap that we laid out, and I'm not really sorry because we are in that business, but hopefully people don't. Yeah. So that's a good thing.
Just being honest. Okay. And there's another question as well from Marilyn. Are there any tips to cut costs for businesses during COVID-19? And this is addressed to all speakers. Any tips at all in terms of cutting costs or
to be honest,
maybe bundle deals, right, with the delivery? Be a thing as well.
Maybe I can add a little bit more. Having brick and mortar stores, a lot of times you'll be actually very, very surprised what people are actually asking landlords in terms of rebates. And it's one of those kind of things, never try and never know. So, go out there and really hammer them. They really need you. Okay, maybe you can add on as well on that front.
Okay. Well, I think there's one other question from Nicholas in regards to listing products on Shopee site. So I've actually shared this slide, Nicholas Leong. You can reach out to Ryan to find out more into the terms and condition, arrangement of deliveries and whatnot.
Yeah. I'll go into detail when you contact me, right? Because we have two separate business models, and I take care of the two, but not the marketplace side of things. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. I think we do not have any more questions. Oh, I think there's one actually, by Catherine Lee Teng. What are the mistakes that people make when adjusting their businesses during COVID-19, during the MCO? Did you guys notice any mistakes that were made or that you would like to highlight? No brand mention if you don't want to.
Okay, I'm Chu here. I don't think there's any so-called mistake that we need to be scared or frightened with. We just have to try, all the ways and means in order to, let's say, to reach out or to sell our products, as long as it's permitting under the SOP or regulations. So I think through trial and error is also one way for us to improvise ourselves. So I think we should not be too concerned about mistakes.
Okay.
But of course, if you were to ask me what are the mistakes I saw, I think some sellers fail to comply with the social distancing, and that may result in authority taking action against them. So be wary on that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that during this time, it's this unprecedented times, right? Nobody knows what is the right way to proceed and move forward. But if it feels right for you, give it a try. If it doesn't work out, you can always think about a different way to move on from it as well. Okay, I think we are at the end of our session. Thank you so much, Ryan, Hugh, and Chu. Today, there's a nice ring to it, right, Hugh and Chu. Thank you so much for joining us today on our Let Time Chat. I'd like to highlight that we have our next session. It's called Let Them Chat: Navigating Personal Finances. So we'll be talking about personal finances and how you can manage them during the pandemic. So you can scan on the QR code to RSVP, and we look forward to seeing all of you in our next Let Them Chat. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Chu. Thanks, you.
Thank you. Stay
Thank you.
safe.
Everyone.